Hey, welcome back. Today I want to talk about debugging. That's finding errors in your code. And that's something that everybody, every software developer that I know, basically everybody who's working in the software industry does on a constant basis. And the question is, why? Why can't we just write code that doesn't have any errors? And the answer is, well, writing software is quite complex. It's a very abstract thing to write code, and besides, there's a distinction between writing code, the coding, and executing the code. So you don't really see the results of your code immediately. You have to wait. You have to at least write a couple of lines until you can hit run, and then you see the results. And oftentimes in bigger projects, you need to wait for somebody else's code in order to be finished, in order to see the outcome. At least in the bigger context, it's easy to test locally on your machine. But if you're working with other people and they are also writing code daily, you need to sort of merge the changes together. You need to put everything into one place on one machine on one server, and then start it and see the changes that everybody has been committing, and see whether the stuff that you've been working on yesterday still works today. That's the reason why we need to find errors, because it's a complex process. Programming, lots of people are involved, lots of different technologies, so it's easy to make mistakes, and that's not a problem to make mistakes. It's, as I said, quite usual to spend a significant amount of time to debug your code. And the way that you can picture debugging is basically, I'd like to compare it to playing Cluedo or Clue, as it's called in the UK, I think. This is this old board game where you're trying to solve a murder mystery. You're collecting clues in terms of what kind of murder weapon was used or wasn't used in order to deduce what's left. And that's if there's one murder weapon left, then that has to be the one which was used in order to commit the murder, right? Or the person who did the murder. You sort of cross out everybody else until you're left with the only possible solution. Although you've never really saw the murder, you've never really seen the murder weapon being used. But you're collecting clues, and that's actually what you're doing when you're debugging. That's rare that you sort of are able to pinpoint the exact error or the source of the problem, but you're solving clues around it. You're writing little debug code. You're inspecting variable values. Variables are the little compartments in a computer's memory, and you check whether the values that are being stored there make sense. You actually pause the program. When you're debugging, you're often setting breakpoints, meaning you set a point in your program where the execution stops, or it pauses, and you're able to inspect the internals, the variable values, and what has been called, which function, which method is being called. You pause the execution and you investigate. You're collecting clues and check variable values whether they're still correct. And then you are able to step into your program. You execute it line by line, and you try to see what's going on and where the problem might be occurring, or at least where it didn't occur. And then you're setting another breakpoint, and then maybe the problem or the bug was appearing in the meantime. So you're setting a breakpoint in between those two breakpoints. So you're collecting clues. That's what you're doing when you are debugging.